Where are the prayer meetings? Where are the people that are battling on their knees? Where are those people that are fasting? Where are those spiritual tools that we've been given over the years to fight with? Now everyone wants to fight politically. And it's like, well, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, powers, and authorities in the heavenly realms.
Well, I agree. What you shared was just powerful. You're right. You're spot on. I would agree with what you shared. I might add something though, and I see this as I think it's discouraging would be the wrong word, because I try not to let other people's mistakes drag me down, or then just both of us are dragged down. Yeah. But I try and recognize, there's no question that the whole politicizing, with the church can have some people just totally turned off because they just see it as a moose meeting, a political meeting, an Elks meeting, a church meeting. What's the difference except, how often we give our dues and stuff. And remember Paul in Galatians 1, and I don't care if it's an angel, it says he's coming out of heaven. If he preaches to you a different gospel different than the one that we've shared, another gospel, they should be divinely cursed. We are not supposed to come off our mission, period. But see, I think there's something else too. I don't think it's just the politicizing you see in church. I think it's something that I think is more subtle. I think that the started out with Hybels, as I remember, with the friendly. We're going to be the friendly gospel. We're going to be the happy gospel. Or as your cat down in Houston, Texas, Olstein, we're the happy gospel. We don't talk about a bloody gospel. And people are going, oh yeah, man, that's right. We don't talk about war. We don't even use metaphors of warriors and soldiers or whatever. See, I get hit, especially with the younger ones. And everybody's young. It's just that when I'm young, I haven't figured out even all the questions to ask. I still don't ask. I still don't know all the answers to ask, or the questions or answers. But I sure know a heck of a lot more of them than I did when I was 23 and 24 and 25 and fresh out of school. And I've take my studies serious, and I'm ready to roll. But I think there's such a push now it's not about truth, it's about relationships. And you can be so strong in the area of truth, and you can, well, if you said parse Greek verbs, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. So they wouldn't say that, but they would say, you can just know your Bible and quote verses and all the rest. But if you're just a sterile person and all you want to do is take people back to the Bible, like, man, you got to wake up. People don't care about that anymore. We are a loving church. I go to speak somewhere, and I'm told, again, heterosexual, homosexual, Paul's very clear in Romans that any kind of sin outside of marriage is sin. Mm-hmm. So I don't try and say, let's just pick on heterosexuals who are living in adultery or homosexuals who are living. It's right. Like if it's sexual sin, it's sexual sin.
No matter what form it is.
Right. That's right. So I've been to conferences where they say, Pastor, I sure hope you're not going to talk about, and then they'll give me topics. And I'll say, no, actually, I hadn't planned on that. I'm either talking about transferable discipleship or spiritual warfare. Well, we want people to know that we're a loving church, and we're not a homophobic church. We're not a xenophobic church. We're not a bigoted church. We're not a racist church. We just love everybody. And once they get to see how kind and nice and loving we are, then they're going to want to become Christians. So we're loving them into the kingdom instead of like those Bible thumper people that are always using Bible verses. And I said, so you're an elitist. Everyone else gets it wrong except you. You're the only one that's figured out how the gospel is to be shared. If it's not done the way you do it, how are you any different than the people you're making fun of right now? And I'm saying, how about instead of laying this out as a straw man, like is usually done, there's either someone that is the most loving Christian that you've ever met, and they just mow your yard, and they're just great, and they can lead you to Jesus without even saying a word. I've never seen that happen, Travis. The gospel has to be verbalized. So first, I challenge that. How you lead people to Christ without saying a word. And then there's this other person goes to church, and while on Sunday he's memorizing verses, and his kids are straight-laced, but I heard that he drinks on the side. In other words, you give a bad example of one, a great example of another, and then say, this is how we're supposed to do it. And I have said, we have become so conformed to the world that we live in that most people don't know there's a difference. And instead of them saying, I won them to Jesus without saying a word by my life. Well, first, if you're not walking the life, you're not walking the way Christ told you. So I'm all about that. We're supposed to live our life, walk our life. So it's not just hypocritical sterility. But on the other hand, when you want to move the other stuff so far out because you want people to think, man, we are the most loving church. Why, you believe in A? Well, so do we. You believe in B? Well, so do we. You don't like D? Well, we don't like, we'll agree on everything. And I say, what ends up happening is instead of them saying, man, I see Jesus in you and I want Jesus, they say, I wish I had your personality. You are just the most easygoing, loving person. I just wish we had more people like you, Pastor. And I'm saying, yes, there's a politicizing that I think has taken us off mission some. But I think there's also the change in a direction to where instead of, I don't want to be hated, Travis, but when Jesus said they hated me, they're going to hate you.
Yeah.
And I thought Jesus did everything perfectly and they crucified him. Mm-hmm. So if someone says, if I just do everything right so people like me, man, that's real Christianity. I said, well, maybe they'll crucify you like they did Jesus, unless you're going to tell me Jesus did something wrong. Did Jesus do something wrong? Was he loving and kind? Yes, he was. Did he constantly go to the book? Was his bottom line taking Pharisees back to again? Well, maybe it's both and instead of either or. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's truth and relationships instead of laying it out as truth or relationships.